He stood on his balcony, his hands tucked firmly into the waistband of his polyester slacks, staring out at the street as if expecting a sudden naval invasion. Behind him, inside their cramped but tidy apartment, his wife Helen was filing her nails. The rhythmic zip, zip, zip was a sound that usually signaled an impending argument. "Be quiet, Helen," Stanley barked without turning around. "You're gonna wake Karen." Helen didn't even pause. "Filing my nails is gonna wake up your niece." "It's not the filing, Stanley, it's the breaking. Every time you break a nail, you swear loud enough to wake the dead." "Oh, so that's what got you up." Karen had arrived from New York the night before, fleeing the gray concrete and the frantic pace of the East Coast for a temporary reprieve. Stanley, fueled by a solemn promise to his brother, had taken it upon himself to be her personal sentry. He was convinced that Santa Monica was crawling with freaks, weirdos, and perverts, a category he often seemed to apply to anyone under the age of 40. "Just hold it down, will you?" Stanley pleaded. "She's trying to adjust to a new time zone. Jet lag is a serious thing. Heard of it? I married it," Helen countered, finally setting down the file. "She's trying to adjust to living the life of a nun. Stanley, you never let her out of your sight. You're more like her jailer than her uncle. You took her to Disneyland, the museum, the end of the pier, and then you bored her to tears with stories of your war experiences. You call that a vacation?" Stanley huffed, his pride wounded. "I promised my brother I'd take good care of her. Well, she ought to be out having fun with people her own age. Like the kids upstairs," Helen suggested, her eyes twinkling. "What about the Andrews sisters? Patty, Maxine, and Tinkerbell?" Stanley scoffed at the mention of the roommates in 201. "Jack, dating him is as safe as sending her out in an armored truck. He wouldn't know what to do with a girl like Karen if she came with an instruction manual. The birthday cake disaster. Upstairs, the atmosphere in 201 was considerably more frantic. It was Jeanette's birthday, and Jack was in the midst of a high-stakes culinary operation involving a half-price cake he'd snagged from a bakery with a surplus. "Hey, I got Jeanette's birthday cake," Jack announced, sliding into the kitchen with a box held aloft like a trophy. Chrissy peered over his shoulder. "Jack, it says happy birthday." "Jimmy, Jack didn't miss a beat. Some guy named Jimmy didn't pick it up. I got it for peanuts. All I have to do is scrape off the Emmy and it reads happy birthday. Jay, it's informal. It's hip. It's also $10 cheaper than a custom order." Chrissy bit her lip. "Jeanette's going to notice. Jack, she's a florist. She has an eye for detail. Details don't matter when you're eating sugar and flour." "Chrissy," Jack insisted, but his confidence wavered when he tried to surprise Jana later that afternoon. He planned a suave birthday kiss, but in his typical klutzy fashion, his necklace got snagged in her hair. They spent 5 minutes awkwardly huddled together while Chrissy tried to detangle them. "There's no sense in wasting all this closeness," Jack joked, though his face was crimson. When Stanley Roper finally approached Jack with his proposal, he did it with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. He offered Jack $50 to take Karen out for the night. To Jack, $50 represented 2 weeks of groceries and a significant chunk of the looming rent. $50? Jack asked, his eyes wide as saucers. "Yeah. And I'll lend you the car," Stanley added. "Anything to get Mrs. Roper off my back about her being bored." Jack agreed, momentarily forgetting his promise to be home for Jeanette's birthday dinner. However, when he met Karen, his guilt evaporated. She was a quintessential New York beauty, sophisticated, stunning, and possessing a smile that could melt the chrome off a Cadillac. The consequences of the night. The date, however, was doomed from the start. Stanley's car, a temperamental beast of a sedan, chose the busiest stretch of the freeway to overheat. Jack and Karen spent 3 hours standing by a billowing radiator, watching the sunset not from a romantic restaurant, but from the shoulder of the 405. Back at the apartment, Jana and Chrissy sat over a cold dinner, their festive mood having soured into a bitter broth of resentment. "He said he'd be back in time," Jana muttered, stabbing a cherry tomato with her fork. Something happened to him. Or someone. You know what the trouble is. Chrissy asked quietly. We're jealous. Jealous. Of Jack. Jonna scoffed, though her voice lacked conviction. When Jack finally stumbled through the door at midnight, smelling of coolant and failure, he didn't come